G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder. I hope everyone's enjoyed their Christmas break, and, I have. I spent Boxing Day at the beach, spent Christmas Day stuffing my face with my family. Now it's the 27th, gone 28th here in Australia, and so I'm sort of getting back into it. One of the videos that I've been asked a lot about to sort of make and talk about is the use of teamwork in Jets, and this is probably the thing that will win you most of your games. If you're struggling to win at all in Jets, this will be the first thing that you have to look at. What are you doing around your team? What is your team doing? And how is that affecting the outcome of the match? Now, just be warned, this footage here, right here, where you're seeing the J32B Lansen, this was taken before Christmas, so we don't have the 10G buff on the RB24s. And the next footage you'll see is from the previous patch with the Super Mystère. But you'll see something that is actually incredible with both sets of footage. And that is the level of teamwork involved that my team exerts, and, well, on the other team, they sort of fall for it. And the second game, you'll see what working with a squad on your team can do. But for now, what I'm going to do is the same thing that I always do in the J32B, and that is put the nose down, get as much speed as possible, and try and get the enemy team to turn around for you. Because what that does is that reduces the enemy's overall level of energy. The more that you can slowly whittle down each plane's energy, the easier it is to get them killed. And so that is exactly what I'm doing here. I'm going to get a little bit of altitude, just to try and get them to go into a vertical as well. And I have a couple of teammates that are with me that are going to hopefully provide as a good distraction. I see this IL-28 up here, and I'm thinking, you know what, I'm going to go for it, because it could be dangerous. It could be the one with the gun pods, and you can see that it's sort of turning around. I take a quick shot, but again, because it's the Saab J32B and the rudder locks up, I'm only taking short bursts. I'm not taking long sprays. Just a quick one, and if I miss, that's too bad. Move on, your speed is more important than getting that one kill. Because staying alive for a little longer could mean that you get more kills if you're patient enough and if you do well enough. And if two people do that on your team, or three people do that on your team, you'll almost be guaranteed with a win. So, quick head on here with the MiG-15 BIS and no dice. That's okay, keep going. More speed, more power. And on top of that, you'll start to see some of the dots on the radar turning around for me, which is a good thing for me, especially being the Saab J32B, being one of the fastest jets at this tier. J29D doesn't really see me, get him crit, and he's going to eventually bail out. MiG-17, not paying attention either, so I'm going to take my time with this one and get a nice kill. You see, this is exactly what a rush strategy is perfect for, and a lot of people disagree with me, but honestly, if you have one or two people like I do on my team responding to the battlefield by following the teammate that is guaranteed to be aggressive in a fast plane that suits playing aggressively with 4 missiles and 4 cannons that are, fairly strong, you can definitely make a rush strategy work. And I honestly think it is still to this day the most viable strategy in jets, even if you are something like a MiG-15. The only difference is with the MiG-15, you would have to gain the altitude afterwards. Whereas with the J32B, you could just continue in a straight line, keeping your speed. But in this case, the enemy team have decided to converge on the slower planes, which means it's on me to make sure that they survive. And I'm going to do the best that I can. Now, you can see that I've sort of left this MiG-15, and you might think that that's a bit of bad teamwork. But at the same time, I'm prioritizing my opponents. This F9F, I'm going to go quick missile for him, and it's probably not going to hit. Is it? Maybe? No, it doesn't look like it. There it is. You see, what I'm doing here is the MiG-15 BIS has not set up the targets properly. And this is partially on my team. On my ground, on my court, this issue. But at the same time, there shouldn't be a single teammate that you rely on to help you. It should be a multiple effort from everyone. And you can see now that I've gone through and I can see these guys starting to turn fight, starting to lose their speed. Now I can go in and engage, because the J32B is one of those planes that can't dogfight. It has to sit on the outside of the battle and swoop in and out, sort of boom and zooming, but you can do it with level flight, and you make a sort of horizontal turn. You see, it's not the end of the world if I, say, miss something like that, because I have a teammate to clean it up. At this point, the enemy team has done enough turns to put them at lower speed than us by quite a substantial amount, where I can play with this A5 and go into a vertical. There's no issue. And you know what? As soon as he goes into the vertical, I bait for my team with that F86A5. The F2 comes in and gets him nice and clean. I've only gotten 2 kills. But it's not to worry, or 3 kills. But it's not to worry, because the more games that you get like this, where you get 3 kills instead of pushing for that ace every single time, like I do, which, you know, I should have some of the blame on my own. It's more getting those multiple kills consistently and pulling out with a win are the important things. Battle time is one of the most important things in War Thunder. It will get you so many silver lines, it'll get you so much RP, and playing your plane recklessly is the number one way to, I would say, lose silver lions. And doing this, working with your team, working together, finding the planes that go fast, finding the planes with the good energy retention is really, really important. Try and look in a battle for your teammates that are fast, and see if you can either bait them or encourage them, talk to them in chat, see if they respond. If they don't, you know, there's not a whole lot you can do. But if they do, you've got yourself a great set of teammates. So, with that battle out of the way, I want to show you this one. And honestly, from the start, this battle is honestly incredible. So, we're on Korea. And one of the things that Korea has is a weird takeoff. You can literally, in 90% of jets, turn the plane around on the runway, and you will take off from the reverse side. You don't need that entire runway. And I noticed these 2 Eli guys, I think. These guys here, I believe they're Chinese, but doesn't really make a difference. I honestly don't know where these guys got this strat from. Maybe they're, you know, old jet players that have been using a VPN for years. Maybe they came with the Chinese update. Who knows? Who cares? Because we have 2 teammates here that are doing what I call the Chad takeoff. That takeoff where you go straight off the runway, that's the Virgin takeoff. This is the Chad takeoff, where you go, do a 180 and take off like that. You can't do it in every jet, and in some jets you need a run up, so do be careful and maybe go into a custom battle before trying it on a certain jet. Things that accelerate well, especially at low speed, perfect for it. For me, I think one of the hardest ones was, I think it was the Phantom that I had trouble with, and I think it was one of the Hunters. And maybe the F100. I'm not entirely sure. You'll have to do it, have a look yourself. But this is one of the most iconic tactics on Korea, and it is the so-called MiG Alley Rush. That set of mountains there is nicknamed MiG Alley. I guess you can call it a call-out. But you can see this Shenyang F5 and the Hunter are both sort of going off to the left there. Now, this is because they're going to intercept the climb path. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and follow them. I'm going to work with them. And this is something you can do. Often, these teammates like this will be on comms, and you can use that to your advantage. These guys will be, you know, in a 2v2 or a 3v2. They'll be trying to work together. Some of them will be playing very aggressively. And if you find a 4-man squad or a 3-man squad, or if you find me in battle, just say hi, come towards me, and then we'll use the chat commands to work something out. The way that you can use random players like this and work in a dedicated team. You don't need voice comms half the time. Although it's great, it certainly helps, but you can see in this situation, the F5 has climbed, and the Hunter has also climbed. I'm going to sit a little bit lower, because anything that goes for them, and then dives for me, will be in a massive energy disadvantage. You can already see there are a few sabers sort of looking towards them. So, if I can shadow the F5 and the Hunter, you can see the F5 is taking point and the Hunter is sort of sitting back, because at first, the F5 will get these F-Sabers to turn, and then the Hunter F6 will have the easier time to take out a slower target. This is extremely smart, and you can see what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bait these guys onto me. I'm going to get them to waste their missiles, I'm going to get them to waste everything, in order for the F5 and the Hunter to come in and sweep up the kills. You see, jets is not a game of altitude. That's props. Props, you definitely look for your altitude and you make sure you get that altitude advantage and keep it. You can see I'm spraying on this F-Saber and I finally get him because he's got low speed. Speed is your life in jets. You do not lose speed, because once you do that, you become extremely vulnerable. And one of the things that you do when you turn is you lose your speed. This is the most important thing to learn when you are playing jet aircraft. Avoid turning. And that means in combat as well. Keeping your energy is extremely important. Unless you have to, I would not advise turning. You see, there's only one reason that you should turn, and that is if someone is behind you. Well, make that two. If there is an enemy behind you that you can kill. And you can see that just by avoiding my turns and keeping my speed, even in the Super Missed Air, which has really, really bad energy retention in some cases, and one of those is in a turn, I'm able to tussle with a few fighters. And I'm able to do it decently. Not only that, but by playing smart, if I'm going to turn, I'm going to put myself into a bit of a climb first, and then put it into a dive, but just be gentle on everything. This way, you can retain a bit more energy. The Super Missed Air is notorious for having poor energy retention in a turn. But if I can gain altitude and then redive, as long as I don't keep turning, then I'm going to end up with a decent amount of energy advantage over my opponents. The key is in jets, and you'll see this more when you go into top tier, and I'll make a video explaining that as well. But when you get to 9.0, you'll find that you can still sometimes turn and get away with it because the jets have such good acceleration. But you still should not turn as a first. Even if you're something like a Venom, I would advise to try and play fast first. And then find the opponents that might be, ready for a turn fight. Because if you decide to go into a turn fight and there are 4 enemies around you, you're probably going to die. Because, let's face it, even though a Venom can turn quite well, even though, for example, a Super Missed Air has a decent first turn, you're going to run out of energy soon. Because energy in War Thunder and in real life, as it is not infinite. You can't just make it. You can convert it, but you need to, do that over time. For example, a jet engine takes time to convert potential chemical energy in the fuel to thrust or kinetic energy in the thrust of the jet engine. It takes time to regain that lost energy, and turning is going to blow more of that. So what you can see here is I'm getting these planes to turn around with me and baiting for my opponents so that my allies get this nice easy shot on the enemy. And it's great. It is actually great fun. Not only that, but you can help end matches so quickly like this. You can see someone just comes in, yoinks that kill. That's no big deal, to be honest, because I still come away with 2 kills. And this match has lasted for 7 minutes. This entire video is something like 15 minutes long, and I get 5 kills. So, in the space that I could get 5 kills by playing selfishly, I could get 5 kills in 2 different aircraft, in 2 different matches, and still earn the RP and Silver Lions more than enough to replace a plane if it gets damaged, or if it gets completely destroyed. This is the key for jet aircraft. You play with your team, and you work to reduce your opponent's energy advantage, or completely nullify any energy that they might have. This is the real key for jets, and this is what makes jets extremely fun. But anyway, ladies and gents, that's enough for today. I hope you enjoyed. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.